Hello guys, and welcome to a new series I'm working on. No, you didn't misread the title. I'm going to painstakingly rank every single trio. Sans trios and bad time trio I use alike, and they will all be placed in a tier list together. Before we begin, this video took me way too long to make, so a like and subscribe, comment, bell, YouTube buzzword would be appreciated. I feel I should also state this is probably the most ambitious project I've ever done in general. Either way, to make ranking so many different units easier, I've decided to create a system of rules to rank each trio based on, so I should probably clarify those before we continue. This was a mistake. Okay, so for this video I've got 5 trios that I'm going to rank. I'll do update videos in future for the others. I've got a list of like 300 at the minute and it's still growing, so if your favourite's not on here, and I guarantee it's not, then look out in the playlist in the future and I will have more videos for this series. The name of the trio is the first thing you see. I believe it should tell you about the trio and keep you curious to find out more. A name should also be memorable and stick in your brain when you read it. The names will be ranked: 5 points for a perfect name, 1 point for an awful or generic name, and 3 points if they're between the two. The next category is about how plausible it is, if the AUs or Sanses would team up with one another. For example, Dust is way too insane to team up with anyone, and Fatal Error would rather harvest the code of a Sans than team up with them. The plausibility score will apply a multiplier: 1.25 times for trios that could easily happen, 0.75 times for trios that couldn't, and 1 times for trios that require certain conditions. Music, of course, is a huge part of this community, and the trios have great songs too. I'll be playing music from these trios throughout the videos, and I'll talk about each trio's music if it has any. Of course, if it doesn't, I don't want it to be a detriment, so a trio will have a score multiplier from 1 times for questionable quality songs, or if the trio doesn't have a song, to 2 times for trios with great songs that I'd put on my playlist. Because yes, I have a playlist of like 300 Undertale fan songs, I enjoy it, okay? The next category with the number of phases. We don't want our trios being like Endless Breath, Infinite Phases, Dying is Gay bullshit. Unless the trio does include Endless Breath, of course. The phase score will be in addition to the meter, ranging from 1 point for trios with too many phases, to 3 for trios with questionable numbers of phases, to 5 for trios with perfect numbers of phases. So, originally I had lore as a far more important factor in the rankings, but as I went on I found very few trios actually had lore, so now it's more of a bonus. If a trio has lore that brings the characters together, it will get a small point boost. 1 point for no lore or bad lore, 3 points if the lore is boring or unoriginal, and 5 points if the lore is compelling. This is more of a boost to ensure the popular trios do better without explicitly saying so. This ranking is definitely not rigged in the slightest. I'll still express how good a trio is, or if it's under or overrated during the segment, but this is just more to avoid any hate comments because I'm very sensitive and please spare my feelings. The final category is to do with the number of members. I'm ranking trios, and therefore every member in every phase of that trio that's over 3 members, I'll deduct a point. So for example, if a trio has 4 members for 2 phases, 2 points will be deducted, since it's 1 over the 3 members in a trio for 2 phases, and 1 times 2 is 2. But anyway, I'm not a maths teacher, so... And that's all the categories I'll be ranking these trios on. If 2 trios end up with the same number of points, I'll use my opinion to decide which is better, and I'll justify it in the section. I feel like I should also point out, I love every single trio this community makes. It's so creative and clever. I really do enjoy just researching it to see what clever ideas people come up with. So if I rank a trio low, that doesn't mean I don't like it, because I do. I love every single one that I've found. So without further ado, let's begin this quest. I think it's only right we start at the beginning. Ah yes, the Bad Time Trio, where it all began. Honestly, it holds up really well today, even with how far the community's come. The trio consists of classic Sans from Undertale, the one you know and love. It also has Swap Papyrus, who takes Sans' role in Underswap, and Shift Kara, who takes Sans' role in Story Shift. Anyway, let's go through all the categories and see how it scores. The name is perfect, it's how everything else started, inspiring 99% of the names of the other trios. You really are going to have a bad time, and this name perfectly encompasses that. And it gives no question as to who you're going to be facing. It's an easy 5 points, anything less would be criminal. They're all serving justice to you, avenging their brothers and friends who have fallen. They'd easily team up to stop you. It isn't at all difficult to reach the conclusion that the three are bound to be teammates. They easily score max points in this category. Triple the Threat, the music you should be able to hear in the background now, is an amazing song. It really encompasses the combined effort of these three judges. Easily the max score. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. Most instances of the Bad Time Trio only have one phase, but through research I found one or two that give them a second phase, which goes against the idea of them being their usual selves. I've never really been a huge fan of adding an extra phase just because people are together, so since the majority only have one phase, I'll give them 3 points for this section. Now I want to make it clear here, I'm not interested in what's canon or fanon. Any media surrounding the trio will be taken into account. With that being said, referencing the Bad Time Trio comic, it justifies well how they meet and team up. Basically, Sans, Swap, Papyrus and Shift Kara all appear in the Judgment Hall and interact for a while. When the human turns up, they fight, trying to find a way out between the fights. Considering this is the first trio, it doesn't have to worry about any unoriginality or boredom of the concept, so it will get all available points in this category. Considering this is the first ever trio, if you know any trios at all, it will be this one. So this is a short section, full scores. Tossing up the points together, Bad Time Trio earns 30.75 points. Not bad at all. I expected this one, if any, would be high up on the list. Well, now you see how this is going to work, let's go through the others in a similar fashion and hopefully have some fun along the way. Trio's Squabble functions more as a bonus battle for the Bad Time Trio, facing the brothers of the members of the original trio. Classic Papyrus, Swap, Sans and Shift Asriel, all taking the Papyrus role in their respective AUs. The name's good. They're a squabble, which is defined as, well, according to Google, a squabble is a collective noun used to describe a group of ghouls, especially when they are arguing or fighting. The term squabble is fitting because ghouls are known for their loud, noisy behaviour, often described as squawking and wailing, which suggests a disagreement or conflict. They're fighting, squabbling over capturing a human, which is exactly how a papyrus would act. Full points. They aren't exactly a team, more fighting over who can capture you. They may team up as a means to an end, however, there does also seem to be some Kara influence there, almost possessing them and forcing them to fight you. So it's plausible, once again max multiplier. I'm gonna be honest. I find the music for this repetitive. It's just the same 4 motifs repeated for a few minutes. It gets old quickly for me. Maybe it's a controversial opinion, but I don't really like it myself. No multipliers. Far simpler than Bad Time Trio. Only one phase as it's just a bonus fight. Full points. Since this is the bonus fight, it gets no lore. However, I'll also give it 3 points for this since it doesn't need lore and there's something going on with Kara as mentioned before. This is the first ever Squabble. It's inspired similar ones for other fights, but also inspired Papyrus-based trios. Full multiplier. And overall, this trio earns 21.375 points. It's definitely let down by the music, but the rest made up for it. A respectable score. We'll see how it holds up as the list goes on. I'm not going to script this next one because I think it'd be funny. So Mad Time Trio is a trio made up of dust variants of Sans, Swap Papyrus and Shift Kara, from the AU's Dust Tail, Dust Swap and Dust Shift respectively. Dust Sans says he's going to give you a mad time, and so therefore Mad Time Trio is a perfect name for this AU. So therefore I will give it full points. Plausibility is more difficult to determine. Assuming they were all in the Bad Time Trio and came back as their dust variants, it's plausible that they would team up. However, if they are just meeting for the first time, it's unlikely as they may not trust one another. And also, Shift Kara is likely more impulsive than the other two and may still attack them regardless. Therefore, I will grant it no multiplier. Nothing positive, but also nothing negative. The music is quite short, however the Red Megalovania motifs mixed with the Triple the Threat motifs easily redeem it and give it a full multiplier. As I stated before, it's difficult to determine what score to give it for lore, because the lore could be that they're just meeting for the first time or they've met before and are meeting up again, but this time as dust variants. So therefore I've decided I'll keep it safe in the middle with 3 points for lore. In terms of fame, I've decided I'll give this one 1.25 times multiplier, because it's one of the most famous AUs of the Bad Time Trio, and probably one of the first you'd think of. In total, this trio earns a score of 22.5. It lost out on the multiplier for plausibility, and that cost it any higher score, but other than that it did quite well for itself. How blatantly obviously did I fuck up this section and make it obvious that I didn't script any of this and just was talking out my ass the entire time. It was quite fun. I might do the rest of the video like this just as a joke. The Disbelief Trio is a trio made up of Disbelief Papyrus, Distrust Sans, and Hopeless Asriel. They're all the Disbelief variants of their respective AUs, and their Sansas fought the human in Snowdin and died, and now they face the human in the Judgment Hall. The name of this trio is a little bit clunky, but it does get along the point that this is a trio of Disbelief variants. Therefore I will give it the middle value of 3 points. I'll give this one the max multiplier in plausibility, because all of these people have lost their brothers and they will connect through grief and therefore fight together. I'm gonna be honest, this music is so much better than the Squabble music. I love it so much and I'd listen to it on repeat on my playlist. Therefore I will give it the full multiplier for music. From what I've found, there are only 4 phases for this one, which makes sense because there are only 4 phases in Disbelief. There's the first phase where they're all sad, the second phase where they're all angry, the third phase where they are schizophrenic, and the last phase where they're themselves. Therefore, I will give them the max points for phases. From context clues given in the Venice animation of this fight, which you should check out, link will be in the description, it seems they all met in a similar way to the Bad Time Trio, where they all just appeared in the Judgment Hall together and decided to fight the human. Therefore, due to an originality, I will give it a slight hit and give it 3 points for lore. After the Squabble, I think this would be the first Papyrus trio that people would think of, therefore I will give it 1.25 times multiplier for fame. I didn't talk about this in the other entries as it wasn't really applicable. However, I will not be counting the extra members, the Undimes and the Sansas in Phase 3 as extra members in the trio due to them being hallucinations, and therefore they will not take any hit of the points for members. Overall, this trio earns a score of 19.375. It took some hits for the name and the lore being a little bit unoriginal, however it still did very well for itself given the music. I'm fucking up this recording so badly by not scripting it, but I don't care, it's just hilarious. Error Time Trio is another AU of Bad Time Trio, consisting of Would You Know It, Error Sans, Error Swap Papyrus, and Error Shift Kara. I'm going to ignore the fact that in my nerd Undertale multiverse brain, Error Swap Papyrus and Error Shift Kara can't exist, because I've had an argument with someone on Discord over this already, and we've decided to see and just agree that they could exist. Let's be honest, the name for this one is very unoriginal and very lazy. I'm only going to give it 1 point. Like I said, for this I'm going to be ignoring the fact that Error Shift Kara and Error Swap Papyrus can't exist, and therefore I'm just going to focus on them being errors, and they wouldn't really work together for long if they were errors, because they'd see each other as anomalies, and so they would try and kill each other. Therefore I'll give their score a slight hit, 0.75 times. The music for this one's pretty poor as well, it's just a glitchy Triple the Threat, and it's just not very appealing. It better pick itself up soon or else it's probably going to be the bottom of this list, honestly. Phases is the one thing it can claim max points for, as there's only one phase to this fight, since it's very niche. No lore for this fight, 1 point on the lore front. So funny story, as I was trying to research this, I could only really find a Roblox article from Sans Multiversal Battles for this trio. I did find a small snippet of the trio in a Bad Time Trio compilation type thing, and yeah, because of that it's pretty obvious that nobody really knows that this trio exists. Overall, this trio earned 6.75 points, pretty lackluster, but I can't blame it because I only knew this existed from that one compilation I saw when I was like 10, so I wasn't expecting this to have much online. And that about wraps up the first video of this series. I know it was quite fast paced and I didn't really leave much breathing room, but I hope you enjoyed it and leave me some feedback, even though I know only like 5 people are going to end up watching this video. It's not like I'm going to go viral of it, but I'm having fun. So I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!